This one's going to be an intense episode, so strap in. Today we are talking about brainstorming, and we're talking about that creative urge that you get. If you're anything like me, there's a point where you want to make stuff and you're not making time for it, and you start to go a little crazy, and then you have to make time for making something. It's like eating, it's like needing water. It becomes this fundamental driving force. So we're talking about that. We're celebrating some victories. And we're talking about brainstorming because that is where most of my victories have been this week. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris. And as always, thank you for listening. I don't have too much to discuss on the playing video game side of things this week. What I do have is not that exciting, but might be very relatable. I watched a lot of playthrough for Resident Evil Requiem. I kind of wish I hadn't watched the playthrough. This is one of those situations where I would never have played the game myself, not anytime soon, had I not watched the playthrough. But now that I've watched the playthrough, I've spoiled all the things that made me convinced that it's a game that I would have enjoyed playing. So now I'm missing out on the game, but it's like, oh, well, it happens. I got a good experience. I would have not gotten any good experience, but it would have been a really good one if I had just played the game. But it's expensive and whatever, Sometimes you miss one. Sometimes you go, oops, shouldn't have watched that playthrough. If you're at all interested in Resident Evil games, I would say, hey, dive in there. Don't watch a playthrough. At least don't watch much of one. And get after it. But maybe wait for a sale because, god dang, that's a high price tag. What is it, 70, 80 bucks? Oh, ugh. I don't like that. Okay, I get it. Inflation, it happens. All right. Moving on, I tried a game called The Eternal Cylinder. It's got a very cool art style. It's got an interesting vibe to it, and it probably just wasn't the right time for me to play it. Because right now, I'm not really playing games unless they absolutely suck me in. And it is cool, and I wanted to support the developers. It's got a cool narrator thing going on. I played like maybe 15 minutes of it before I gave up. But it seems like it's cool, and it's just not for me. It was a little too much chaos in a way that I wasn't that interested in. It was a little too many item pickups, and just didn't land. But take a look at the trailer, see if it's something that might land for you. The trailer does not describe the gameplay very fully. It doesn't. The store page does not describe the gameplay very effectively. So that one, maybe do a tiny bit of a deeper dive and see if it's something that you like. Okay. What else? There are games that I want to play that I have not, that I keep looking at and going, it's staying on the wish list for now. But I'll check out that Steam sale. I think there's a spring sale right now, and I'll look and I'll see if there's anything that I want to jump into for 20 minutes and play a little bit. But what I'm really excited about right now is making games, brainstorming ideas for games, getting a project off the ground, getting it rolling, getting something moving. Ooh, that's something I did like about the Eternal Cylinder. The sprint mechanic for your character kind of just makes you roll really fast, but it's not like a Sonic roll. It's more like fleshy. The art style is sick. It has a very cool art style. Very abstract in some way. Not abstract, surreal might be the word. It's kind of gross, but in a cartoony, realistic way. Take a look at a screenshot. It'll explain itself. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it verbally. But it's got its greatest strength is its visuals, I think. And based on very, very little playtime, I really can't give a real review of the game. It just didn't land for me. I don't know why. You know how that is? Sometimes you go into something for 10 minutes and you go, damn. It's just not for me right now. I can't do it. So be it, right? Speaking of that, brainstorming ideas, sometimes you bounce off of an idea immediately. Sometimes you latch onto an idea immediately. And this is the dynamic that I want to talk about with brainstorming, because I have spent a decent amount of time this week, not a huge amount, but more than I normally would, just on brainstorming. Normally I would go, ooh, that's a fun idea. I'll make that. And then I'll start designing almost immediately. I go straight from fun idea to let's design it. This is the first time that I've kind of sat down and gone, let's sort through the ideas. Because my philosophy is basically you can make any idea into something cool if you just do it right. But right now, I have a different angle. I still think that you can make any idea into something really cool if you just do it right. But I think some ideas might be most fertile for you at a particular moment. So I'm really trying to get in tune with my own feelings about the ideas that I'm coming up with, more so than their objective, like, market value, which is a weird, kind of gross phrase to apply to brainstorming, at least to me, at least at this moment. It seems like we're starting to talk about development, so let's just do it. So this week I spent about 3 hours just brainstorming. Now, that's not really an enormous amount of time. It's an hour across 3 different days. Just boom, brainstorm. And each time I ran into 1 or 2 things where I went, there it is. That's the idea. That's what I'm working on. We're doing that. And each time I came back to it and I went, not quite. That's not actually it. I like this initial hook about it, or there's some little thing about the idea that appeals to me, but as soon as I let it sit and then come back to it, I went, no, that's not what I actually want to do. And I think that this has revealed a very fundamental problem in the way that I'm approaching game development, in the way that I'm approaching creating things. A maybe not a fundamental problem, that might be an overstatement, but a obstacle that has been more of a problem than I realized. I generally have the belief that you can commit to an idea and then do it, and you will find the joy as you are doing it. But if you got a whole bunch of ideas, why not take a minute to filter through them and go, this one's the one that I'm going to do? Why not give yourself just a little more time to go, no, this is the one that I want to spend the time working on? I mean, I think I've been jumping the gun. In my hurry to create something, in my hurry to not get stuck on this analysis paralysis, to not go through the, which engine should I use? Do I want to use Unity, or do I want to use Godot, or do I want to use Unreal? The thing where you sit through that idea for 2 years straight and go, I don't really know. What if I pick the wrong one? In my rush to avoid that, I have accidentally not grabbed onto projects that I'm both excited about and capable of doing to the point that I want to do them, or capable of figuring out, like, how do I put this? The MMO thing, right? If you want to make an MMO, yeah, sure, you're capable of it, but like, are you going to be satisfied at the end? I'm trying to find a project that I can make and be satisfied with without like destroying myself. So that's one element of it. And the other element of it is I need to feel something about the project. Now, this is what catches me off guard. I'm sorry if you just heard me bump my mic. It should be good. Didn't see a spike in the audio. There's a thing that happens every time I come up with a cool idea. You've heard it happen on this show, actually, when I was talking about what if bananas had eyes. And I was hyped about it. I was like, and then there's this implication and that implication. I get caught up in this thought experiment and I go, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is also awesome. These are all really cool things. What about this entire world? And then I go, this is what I'm going to make. But I haven't really gone into it a little deeper. I've just rolled with the momentum, which is so good. And I like that. But when I come back to it, does it have the kind of momentum that you have for a long-term project, or does it have the one night I'm at a party and this is awesome momentum? Is this okay, I hate doing this, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to relate this to romantic relationships. Is this a project that is, you met this person at a party, the vibe was good, you're having a good time, and you go, man, I should date this person. And then you go the next day, you go on a date with them, and it's just not it at all. You try a couple more times, and it just never clicks. Or is this this project a project that you meet at, say, the library? I don't know why I'm choosing the library. I don't know. I like libraries, man. They're peaceful, they're quiet. And there's a passion for reading books that's so deep. There's something about reading a book and really committing to it. And maybe I could have used books as the analogy. But anyway, is this somebody that you meet in kind of like a calmer setting and you get to know them a little bit and you're like, oh, that was so nice. I can't wait to see them again. And then you see them again and yeah, it's a little awkward and you kind of got to get the ball rolling, but then you keep getting along. And then again and again and again. Now, this is a weird analogy to use. I don't think it's necessarily healthy to equate your creative projects to romantic relationships, but it was the first one that came to me. And you can have a really cool, exciting first experience with an idea, and then you can meet that idea again, right? Bump up against it again, and it can still light up your brain in the same way that you can meet somebody at a party and you know what? Drop the romance. You can meet somebody at a party and go, dude, this person is going to be one of my best friends. This person absolutely rules. And you can hang out with them again and you can be like, man, this person sucks. Or you can be like, man, this person is awesome. It wasn't just the party vibe. It wasn't just because we were like having fun, joking around, all this stuff at the party. It's because we get along so well. And you can tell this on the first, instinct a little bit. You can tell whether or not an idea is worth exploring. You can tell whether or not a friendship is worth exploring. But sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you got an idea or a potential friendship where you go, yeah, I didn't really get anything from that at all. There was no negative, hard no, don't want to be around this idea, don't be around this person vibe. But I didn't really, completely neutral. And then somebody else is like, you should absolutely explore that idea. Or you should get to know that person. You guys have so much in common. I think ideas for games have that behind them. So I'm not saying you have to have an idea that gives you this incredible feeling of, oh, this is going to be the greatest project I've ever made. I'm saying instead of filtering for that and then immediately committing to the project, filter for each time that you come back to the idea, does it ignite a little something in you? Not instantly, right? You got to get into the flow. You got to get a conversation going. You got to talk about the weather for a minute. You got to do some boring crap. And then once things get flowing, you're jiving, you're having a good time, and you are getting into your creative flow. That is kind of my new angle. I have been doing the thing where you have a cool idea and you go, this is great, this is perfect, I'm sticking with this idea. Never mind, this sucks. And I am not at all interested in it, but I said I was, so I'm going to keep at it with this idea because I got to create something. It's so important to me that I create something. I got to make friends. So I'm going to hang out with people that kind of suck that I don't get along with. Right? I'm going to work on ideas that I'm not actually feeling, that I'm not actually interested in, that initially seemed really good, but every time I go back to it, it doesn't land. Now, there's a version of this that somebody could read into and go, oh, okay, well, every idea that I ever interact with doesn't quite fit. Every person I ever meet doesn't quite fit. And then it's probably a process problem, you know? Then it's probably some kind of a not enough tolerance for dry conversation, not enough tolerance for that phase of like of I'm sorry, I'm using such a weird analogy here, but that phase of conversation where you're like, is this person sane? Do we get along? Are they if I bring up this topic, are they going to start talking about a conspiracy theory, or are they going to shut down my fun joke thinking that I'm doing a conspiracy theory? Do you know what I mean? And with a creative idea, it might be that the idea doesn't jive with you in that same way. And I guess that's it. I guess I'm belaboring the point now. I just think it's very valuable to take some time to assess the idea. And this is where we get to that may have already been kind of intense, but this is the more intense part for me about talking about this brainstorming and this urge to create. I have such a deep felt need to create things. I want to make things in the weirdest way, and I don't know how to express it. And I think some of you probably have this too, or have experienced something similar in another way. I say that like you don't definitely. I feel like this is a human thing. This is not like a. I feel like everybody has this, and it's to different degrees, and some people suppress it and so on. But I say that about the urge to go hiking too, and I think I'm wrong about hiking. Like I like hiking and being out in nature to the extent that when somebody tells me that they don't like it, I think, well, that can't be true. You just don't understand something. You're stuck in your head. You're not actually going hiking. You're doing it wrong, which I'm clearly wrong about, right? Anyway, with this creative urge, I get to a point where I haven't been making anything for it takes about a week, I think. Before I go, I have to do something. And then I just get like I get like a couple sips of water, and it's enough for me to survive. And I can keep doing that for a pretty long period of time. And then we get to where it's been like a few months and I've only been getting little sips of water, and I go nuts, and I do anything and everything that I can to really start creating. And I think I've reached that point. There's usually a breaking point where I go, oh my God, I can't stand this. There's a breaking point of like, I have to make stuff, or I'm just going to lose it. I don't know. I can't stand it. It is a physical sensation. It is a mental anguish, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't understand it completely, but I know that I have to do something creative. So I reached that point, and I went through a kind of a cycle in my head, or a process in my head of, what if I just get rid of this thing? What if I just stop creating? Why not? Why not let go of this? And I realized that that's not an option. I mean, I entertained the option. I genuinely entertained it. I was like, what if I stop working on game dev? Life is a lot. I have a lot of obligations. There's a lot of things that I need to do. And I can live a perfectly happy life doing just my work and spending time with people I care about and so on. And I was like, you're lying to yourself. That's not it. You're not going to be happy. Right? For me, I there's so much suppression involved there of a thing that I deeply, deeply care about. And I'm sorry, this is getting very personal. I know that I've talked about the creative urge before, but I have a new perspective on it, and that's why I'm talking about it again. I just believe that if I make a little space for that need and take it slow, this is how I got to this. Sorry. I'm realizing that I'm rambling a little bit. I jump onto an idea and I push hard and fast and go, I've got to make this because I have such a desperate need to make something. So when that idea pops up and it looks exciting and it looks good, it looks like a fun idea, then I'm going, this is it. This is what we're doing. We're making this idea. We have to. I have to make something. We're making this. This is what we're making. It's done. We're set. We're making this. That's not good. That's the guy who's, I'm doing the friendship analogy again. That's the guy who's so desperately trying to make friends that every friend runs away from them, you know? It's the guy who's like, can we hang out? We got to hang out. Come hang out with me. Like, come on, let's hang out. It'll be fun. Let's hang out. Hang out with me right now. That kind of sucks. Right? Unless you already have an established rapport. And then you can have days where you're like, come on, please. Come on, let's go. Let's hang out. Let's do something fun. Right? But I think that in the same way that that's not good for going into a friendship with like a nice positive vibe and building something authentic and really connecting and getting your needs met, approaching it with that kind of like desperation. I think creative desperation is a thing that is hard to notice because there's nobody really giving you feedback on it. It's just you and the blank page. It's just you and whatever it is that you're trying to create. It's you and ideas in your mind. But there's a version of this for me that I think is some kind of creative desperation. And I'm sharing this because I think maybe some of y'all have the same thing. Could be. Maybe not. I just feel like it's powerful to share this kind of thing, you know? If people relate to it, if people figure out their own weird creative hangups or start exploring their own weird creative hangups a little bit, it might be a lot simpler than you think it is. It might not be some horrible moral failing of procrastination and whatever else. It might just be like, oh, you were, not really feeling that idea, and then you overcommitted to it, and then you kind of beat yourself up, and there was no reason to do it because it wasn't actually fun. Or whatever your version of that might be. It might be that you're doing it for the fame, but you can't release it anywhere because you're too scared of the fame, right? Everybody has their own weird hangups, and my solution will not be the same as your solution. My problem will not be the same as your problem. There's an entire conversation about the problems of social media and taking advice from podcasters and taking advice from everybody on the internet and even taking advice from people in your own life. And that is, advice needs to be customized to your problems, and everybody is currently giving you advice based on their problems. Not everybody. There are probably people in your life that are giving you advice based on your problems, and those people are extremely valuable if they're giving good advice. That is some of the best stuff you can get, right? Advice from somebody who really understands, cares, and is not just preaching at you, but is noticing your problems and going, hey man, I just wanted to share this with you as a thought, take it or leave it. If you're okay to receive this, I was thinking that I have a little advice for you, right? That kind of a like gentle, guided, only if you want the advice. Ooh, it's rare, it's special. And if you have it in your life, give it a little attention, give it a little thought. Yeah. Anyway, that is my angle on creative urges and frustration and getting past that. And so what I've been doing, as far as practical steps, is making a little time for myself to just focus on one little part of my creative process and giving it space and time. I'm like, how much time can I spend on some brainstorming? Okay, I'll give it an hour today. And then I'll give it an hour the next day. And because I've been giving it a little patience and time, I've thrown away some ideas that immediately looked so good. And then I came back to them literally hours later. And I looked at them again and I went, can I make this work? Can I keep exploring this? And I went, ooh, I don't want to make this. This isn't that interesting to me. This doesn't spark joy for all the Marie Kondo fans out there. And I let it go because I don't need to commit to an idea in the first 10 to 20 minutes of figuring it out just because I initially go, oh my God, this is so good. I think every idea is so good and so cool. I've had other people pitch ideas to me and I go, oh my God, that's awesome. Because I there's a version of it that works. That's what's awesome. There absolutely is. There's so many cool ideas and there are versions of them that works. I mean, look at freaking Mugenics, right? Ed McMillan. McMillan or McMullen? I think McMillan. Edmund McMillan is just crushing it with Mugenics, which is an insane idea, right? Cat breeding and eugenics. It's like a dungeon crawling thing. Like it's sort of got almost a Darkest Dungeon vibe in there, but you can only use the cats once, basically. Very cool, right? Extremely cool. Super weird idea. Probably not for everybody, but it's so enticing. I feel like every idea can work, and that can be a problem because every idea can work, but it might not work for me. And okay, one more thing before I wrap this up. I gotta notice for myself that it's pretty cool and nice to be able to recognize the potential in every idea. Because then if somebody else has some cool idea and they're excited about it, I can see that and I can go, hell yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. Because I'm seeing a little bit of that potential. And then whether or not I'm seeing the exact same thing that they're seeing, we both know there's something there. And they can give me a little more about it and I can give them a little bit of what I'm thinking of. And there's a back and forth there. What I'm saying is I make a great idea guy. But it's exciting. It's just been overwhelming me. So I feel that I've figured out a part of my creative process. I've not, right? I feel that way. I probably have not figured it out, but I'm on much more stable footing than I was before. And I'm going to keep working through that. I'm going to keep taking steps and learning to just take the pressure off of this boiler full of steam that's about to explode. That is my urge to create stuff. And the first step to taking that pressure off is not to absolutely go nuts and go through the entire creative process all at once. It is to do a little brainstorming, find something that I like, and then start building around that release valve and make something cool. All right, first off, thank you for sticking with me this far in this episode. I feel like this episode has been extremely self-indulgent, but hopefully you have found it enjoyable, and hopefully you've gotten some value out of it, even if that value is just like, oh man, I guess everybody's creative process is really, really different. Like maybe you listened to all the stuff I just said and you went, oh, that's not how I work. Or maybe you did what I do. You listen to everything I said and you go, oh, that must be exactly my problem. And then you try to adopt it to your situation, even though adapt it to your situation, even though it's not identical at all. And you're probably completely different, right? I wish there were universal rules. Wouldn't that be so nice? But it'd be really boring too. Here is my question for you this week. What part of your creative process do you have a good grasp on? Or do you really lean into? You know what? Let's stick with what do you have a really good grasp on? Because I really want to hear about that. I'm very curious about that. It might light some ideas in my brain. Once again, being self-indulgent this episode. But it might also excite other people in the community. Share a little bit about your creative process. Hop into the Discord and tell me what part of your creative process you have a good grasp on and what that process is like for you. that is everything that I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me on this one and for sticking around through it. I know this one's been a wild ride, but I've enjoyed it. And I hope you have too. And I hope that you enjoy creating things this week, because it's time for you to get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.